Alright, hello everyone and welcome to WWE Discussion. I'm your host and WWE enthusiast Dougie Doug. In today's episode, we're discussing Friday Night Smackdown, October 6, 2023 edition. And this edition of Smackdown was the final show before Fastlane. WWE will be putting the final touches on that card. A card that only features 5 matches. Could there be a 6th match added? Possibly. Was it added here on this show? No, it was not. But LA Knight certainly had himself a night. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the megastar himself kicking off the show. And before he could say anything, he was interrupted by Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, and Jimmy Uso. This led to a back and forth before Cena would hit the ring to support his Fastlane tag team partner. The megastar then challenged Uso to a match, and Jimmy accepted to the dismay of Heyman. This was the same formulatic segment that resulted in the main event later in the show, but the pop for LA Knight is still very much undeniable. He is the guy right now in WWE, and it's about time the company recognizes that and pulls the proverbial trigger on pushing him rather than building and then missing the mark, like they did with Cody Rhodes. Charlotte Flair and Asuka versus Io Sky and Bayley, and unnecessary tag team match is unnecessary, but I will admit I like how they didn't really overdo it. What they can, they will, they get along, cliche. So the action in this match broke down late, which did lead to a few sloppy spots, but the outcome hit the important notes, including misfires by both teams that concluded with Flair scoring the win for her team. After Sky versus Asuka 2 weeks ago, this was another solid utilization of the women's division, and a preview of what could be the best match on the Fastlane card. So long as Io Sky retains, I'm okay with that. Ultimately, that's really that's the best outcome for this triple threat match, is Io Sky retaining. Dragon Lee versus Austin Theory, and the match was solid enough for what it was, but the presence of Waller, his involvement, and the interference from Grimes prevented this match from reaching that top gear, that next level, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Usually it is, but I think there's an exception to be made here. Using this as an emphasis for a rivalry involving 4 young and talented professional wrestlers and give them television time. It's exactly the type of booking Triple H and company should do more consistently. Grimes is a great talent. Dragon Lee thrived here in his SmackDown debut, and A-Town Down Under are proven to be foundational players for SmackDown. Good stuff here, even if you have to look beyond the surface for why this was a good segment. Again, interference is never a great thing in a match, but sometimes it can be used to the benefit of the competitors, and this is one of those instances where it was. Speaking of Dragon Lee, I think we can all agree that he's going to be the third man for the LWO in their match against Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. And then the main event of the show, LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso, and this is a star-studded close to the show that made an impact on Fastlane, Crown Jewel, and Survivor Series. And it was also a great way to put the final touches on the build to Fastlane. Given the numbers and the guys involved, though, one has to wonder if this was a preview of Survivor Series and a potential War Games bout. And if so, it would certainly provide that show of a big-time gimmick match involving the top stars in the company, exactly the sort of things to be expected out of Survivor Series. So, in conclusion, this was a great show with some solid in-ring action, effective build of Fastlane, and a potential preview of things to come as WWE will shift its focus towards what comes after Fastlane, and that is Crown Jewel, followed by Survivor Series. More importantly, the union between the Bloodline and Judgment Day. It's an intriguing development. Is there more to this? Is this going to be a real thing? So there is a big question mark hanging about that union, and there's really only one man who can answer that question, and that is Roman Reigns. And next week on Friday Night Smackdown, we will hear from the Tribal Chief. He will finally make his return, so we'll figure out where he stands, where he thinks of a union between the Bloodline and the Judgment Day. And having questions that create excitement and interest are a good thing, and WWE certainly created those with this show. Again, Judgment Day, Bloodline. What's the story? What's the angle? That's a good hook for the audience. More importantly, it made Fastlane feel like a bigger show than it had been previously. So shout out to creative for putting together a Fastlane show that is worth watching, and not just relying on the talent to deliver like they always do, instead putting some actual effort into the card. And yeah, with that will conclude this episode of WWE Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.